What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down some big news involving President Trump in China that's affecting things, what you should be watching for as time goes on. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposits $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60. As far as NIO is going, we have a nice cup and handle like structure, so please check this out. If we could break this 4.35 area, we're looking for an attempt for 4.62. If we end up losing support at 3.97, we're looking for a move back down. Overall, we're getting very, very tight, and we could be forming a wedge on NIO that looks just like this. So I'll be watching to see if this is what we're about to do, as we could consolidate before we see a potential breakout to either the upside or the downside. So I'll talk more about this in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about some news. So right now, Mizuho is the last analyst to give us a neutral rating. We're not really getting too much from different analysts right now. It's more of a quiet time for many Chinese tickers and NIO until we get the next reports. But there was some big news that came out involving China. China mentioned that they want to lower their tariffs on U.S. goods to 10% for an additional 90 days starting at 12:01 p.m. on Wednesday. They also mentioned they want to reduce 34% duties on the U.S. goods to 10%. So the Chinese Finance Ministry officially said this. So that's some big news, at least so far. Looking for a bilateral agreement so far, and this is some good news. On top of this is part of why we saw some Chinese tickers trying to push a bit. NIO was kind of flat, though, despite this. We already pushed so much yesterday with the trade deal between the U.S. and China. And then when it comes to more news, we're actually looking to see headlines about how stocks like Tesla are losing market share. If you look at it very, very closely, we're seeing lots of headlines about how other Chinese companies are dominating in China, and Tesla's seeing a bit of a struggle, at least for the month of April. But things can definitely improve as we get to like May and June. So keep that in mind. This is just a temporary thing. Now, there's been lots of news about how President Trump went to Saudi Arabia. He signed a deal where Saudi Arabia are going to be agreeing to commit $600 billion into investments into the U.S. That includes American energy and infrastructure, and then also AI and data centers, lots of investments in those, and the defense budgets. So very, very big news so far. This is why we saw the U.S. markets push, as stocks like Nvda are going to be sending 18,000 of the chips to Saudi Arabia. President Trump also said that inflation is down. He is incentivizing Jerome Powell to cut rates. And besides that, tomorrow's going to be Wednesday. There's not really much coming out. The market just has very minor mortgage data in the morning. Today we got CPI. Everything was basically close to or below expectations. The all item CPI reports were below expectations by 0.1%. And then the core CPI numbers were as expected. This is what the chart looks like. We're looking at the lowest CPI we've seen in years, at least according to reports. And keep in mind, this does not mean prices are going down. It's just the rate at which they're going up is what's slowing, at least for now. And we'll have to see if this continues as time goes on. Lastly, I just want to say this is what the earnings calendar looks like. Nothing too serious for today. We do have Sony announcing earnings tomorrow and Alibaba and Walmart on Thursday. So with that being said, what do I see for the market moving forward? Greed is making up the majority of sentiments. Momentum is at extreme fear, and we're going to be looking for a big shift right now. The put to call option ratio is also at greed, so we'll just have to see how that ends up going. That's what we're looking at as time goes on. With that being said, what do I see for NIO? We're just consolidating, so I do expect us to continue this consolidation phase, but more news from China, and if we get better sales, at least as we approach the later months of May, which tends to be a better month for NIO, especially like May and June, could be helping this push a lot higher to push back up like this, forming a cup and handle. There is potential for this as we consolidate, but we need to see a breakout for that 4.6 area. So that's what I'm predicting for now for NIO. We'll see how well it ends up holding up in this wedge. Now, overall, this is a small move because what's going to affect this is fundamentals, what goes on with China and their interest rates, and also how well NIO's overall margins end up looking. So I'm just talking about a short-term move right now. There's going to be a much more upside to come once we see profitability. As far as SPY is going, another breakouts today. We gapped up yesterday. Now we're continuing to push because of this deal involving Saudi Arabia. If SPY loses 585, we could turn back down. We could even start to get back down to 580 or below. But if we end up breaking past this 588 area, we're looking for an attempt to push to 590, then 592.5 as our targets. So that being said, I think there's a very, very good chance that this will push even more. So give this some time. So that's going to be very important. So please keep this in mind, and we'll have to watch and see how this ends up developing. So I see upside potential in this. But as you guys could tell, we are looking more bullish so long as we can end up getting back above 585 and hold that. So I do think there's more upside potential right here. As far as the QQQ goes, we are still looking more bullish. We have 517 and 520 as our potential targets, so that could also continue to climb. If that breaks, we'll be going even higher from here. If we lose 515, we're looking for a dip back down, but nonetheless, we look more bullish as the 520s are very possible. On the IWM, we look a bit more bullish. We have to see if we can break past 209. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to push to 212. If we end up losing 208, we're looking for a dip back down towards this gap over here. So I do see a test of 210 coming for the IWM. We have to see if we break that for confirmation to go higher. On ES, we're looking a bit more bullish. There is upside potential if we hold above 5,900. And we could be looking for 5,950 here, but you want to be very careful. As long as we don't lose 5850, we're still looking more bullish. NQ is looking bullish as long as we're above 20,250. I could see us continue to push above 21,400. If we lose 21,000 flat, we could be dipping, but I do favor upside a little bit more. For Bitcoin, we're looking a bit more bullish, looking for 106,000 as our target. So far, there's potential nonetheless. Tesla's looking pretty good. We could be looking for more upside all the way back up towards the 340s. We'll see how well we hold right here. There's a tough resistance near that 333 to 337 area. But if we could break that, I still think there's so much more upside potential for the 370s. We'll see if we cool off in any way first tomorrow before it continues to rally. But I do see this eventually running for the 370s. On Nvidia, we need to hold above 130. Then I'm going to be targeting 135 as our target, then eventually 140. Looks bullish for now as long as we don't lose 125. Aapl looks bullish, looking for 218 as our target if we can hold above 212. For Coinbase, we look more bullish. If we end up losing 250, we're going to be dipping lower, and as long as we're above this, we're actually favoring 266 to 270, so I see upside potential here. Amazon's looking more bullish, so long as we don't end up losing basically 208, we're also favoring 215 plus. For Meta, we're also favoring upside. We're looking for an attempt to get back up to about 666. So I favor upside right over here. If we end up losing 650, we're going to be dipping back down, but this is favoring 660. Microsoft is looking more bullish. We could be favoring 456 to about 460. And then for Google, we're also favoring 163 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for basically 165. So there's upside potential right over here. The VIX is technically on a downtrend. It's falling right now, so we'll just have to see what this leads to. There's no sign of a break out of this wedge, and it still looks bearish, so the market is still holding up quite well. We need a bad piece of news, some kind of catalyst to dump this market. There's no sign of that yet, and we still remain more bullish. With that being said, I thank you for listening. As far as NIO is going, this is going to likely consolidate, but then we could try to break out higher for the 4.6 plus area if we get some good news, so we'll see what ends up happening. Anyways, I thank you for listening, guys. Please have a good rest of your day, and peace out.